Hi, I'm William,
And I'm Kat,
and that means this is Info on the Go.
answering questions you want to know.
Well, Kat, have you ever heard of Allis-Chamlers?
I have not.
Have you ever heard of the Hoover Dam?
Yes, I've actually drove across the Hoover Dam, but they don't allow that anymore.
I've never been to the Hoover Dam. I would love to see that. I bet that is I bet that is something you would remember for forever,
It's
right?
it's really huge.
Yeah. I would have to do that one day for sure.
Yeah, it's next to the Grand Canyon, so make a day trip.
Okay. Well, today we are going to explore a very large company that in many ways is still around us, as we will see. There were a lot of branches of the Allis-Chalmers company.
Today on Info on the Go, the history of Allis-Chamlers from industrial pioneer to legacy brand.
Allis-Chalmers was one of the most ionic names in industrial machinery, symbolizing American innovation and engineering prowess throughout much of the 20th century. This paper, or this podcast, is going to explore the company's rise and its global expansion, the challenges that led to its decline, and enduring legacy in agricultural, construction, and industry.
Wow. So the early foundations. Edward Phelps Allis was a manufacturer and politician born in Cazenovia, New York. He graduated from Union College, Schenectady,
Mm,
New York, in
yeah.
1845. In 1846, he moved to Milwaukee, where he joined William Allen in a leather business. In 1851, Alice and several members of the Allen family launched the Wisconsin Leather Company, and their tannery in Two Rivers supplied the Milwaukee retail outlet.
About 1856, Alice sold his interest in the leather business and engaged in real estate and railroad investment, which would prove to be instrumental in the years to come. In 1861, he purchased the Reliance Iron Works out of bankrupt Decker and Saville, and renamed the firm as Edward P. Allis and Company. After 1863, during the Civil War, the firm's business grew rapidly, fostered by the demand for millstones and milling equipment. Alice relocated the plant in 1867 and then acquired the Bay State Iron Manufacturing Company in 1869. This guy was all over the place, wasn't he?
He really was. I mean, he seems to be doing pretty good if in 6 years he was able to sell his shares and buy a whole other business. In
Yeah.
1871, Alice constructed a pipe foundry which enabled him to underbid Eastern producers for the municipal waterworks contract, and in 1874 he installed the pumping engines for the system. Although forced into bankruptcy in 1876, Alice quickly recouped his fortunes and retained control of the company. In the 1880s, through the introduction of new products, Alice built his business into one of the largest in the state. In 1889, the company did an annual business of 3 million and employed approximately 1,500 people. In today's money, that would be about 102,878.
I couldn't really find anything that back. I only found that in one source, so I left it in there because even if he was doing half of that back then, I mean, that's
Yep,
still substantial, right?
that's a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, 1,500 people.
Yeah, that's a oof.
And that's just an annual business, so that doesn't capture profits or anything like that. That's just global sales.
Right, right.
Although the company had some labor difficulties, particularly in the citywide strike of 1886, Alice was generally known for fairness in dealing with his employees. He was one of the first manufacturers to organize a form of industrial insurance, the Alice Mutual Aid Society. Meanwhile, other companies that would later merge into Allis-Chalmers were also forming. Notably, Fraser and Chalmers in Chicago specialized in mining and milling equipment, and the Gates Iron Works developed crushing machinery. These firms, each excelling its niche markets, laid the groundwork for the industrial giant to come.
Hmm. By the late 19th century, rapid industrialization and urbanization fueled demand for heavy machinery. The Edward P. Phillips Allis Company, the Edward P. Allis Company, I don't know where Phillips came from, became a leader in steam-powered machinery, while his future affiliates made strides in mining, cement, and power generation technologies. The formation of Allis-Chamlers, 1901.
So, 1901, the Allis-Chalmers Company is it's there, right? A,
Mm-hmm.
a pivotal merger brought together the Edward P. Allis Company, Fraser and Chandlers, and Gates Iron Works, forming the Allis-Chalmers Manufacturing Company. This strategic union combined expertise in steam engines, mining, and crushing equipment, enabling the company to serve a broader array of industrial markets. Under its new banner, Allis-Chalmers quickly diversified its product lines to include turbines, generators, and agricultural machinery. This expansion positioned the company as a leader in the emerging fields of power generation and mechanized farming. Man,
Wow.
so he's into mining, he's into generators, he's into milling, he's into farming. Like,
Yeah,
this is a huge company.
gigantic with lots of little avenues. Rise to industrial prominence between 1901 and the 1940s. The early decades of the 20th century saw Allis-Chalmers establish itself as a cornerstone of American industry. In agriculture equipment, in 1914, the company entered the tractor market, introducing innovations like the Allis-Chalmers Model U in 1929. The Model U revolutionized farming by being one of the first tractors to feature pneumatic tires, which increased efficiency and comfort for farmers. Allis-Chalmers collaborated with Firestone to introduce pneumatic rubber tires to tractors. The innovation quickly spread industry-wide as it improved tractive force and fuel economy in the range of 10% to 20%. Wow, that's a good bit in that time.
Well, think about that. Back then they were using these steel wheels with spikes on them. I know you've seen pictures of them.
Yeah, I
And
can't imagine
then,
very comfortable to ride on.
especially if you're on like a hard surface like a dirt road or
Right.
pavement, I mean, just
Oof.
imagine what you're doing to those spikes when you're doing that.
Oof. Yeah.
And then to come along and introduce these new rubber tires to tractors, which are still around today, like we're talking, this is innovative. This is innovation in its purest form right here.
Right. Within only 5 years, pneumatic rubber tires had displaced cleated steel wheels across roughly half of all tractors sold industry-wide. Cleated steel remained optional equipment into the 1940s. Yeah, I can't imagine many people, if they made the switch, really went back.
Yeah, no, you're thinking about this fuel economy 10 to 20%, like you would see that show up in your bank account for sure.
Hmm.
Especially when you're farming or doing some of these other activities like mining or something where every dollar counts.
Right.
Um, Power and industrial machinery, the company played a key role in infrastructure development, providing turbines and generators for hydraulic dams and municipal power plants. We talked about a little bit about the Hoover Dam. We're going to get it more into that here in a little bit. Its equipment powered critical projects like the Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam is a concrete arch gravity dam in the Black Canyon of Colorado River on the border between the United States of Nevada and Arizona. Constructed between 1931 and 1936 during the Great Depression. It was dedicated on September 30th, 1935 by President FDR.
Franklin D. Roosevelt, for those who
Yeah,
aren't sure who that is.
my bad. I've just always called him FDR, but you're right, Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
There were a number of deaths in building the Hoover Dam. The official number of deaths is 96, which includes deaths from industrial accidents at the dam site. These accidents included drowning, blasting, falling rocks, falls from the canyon walls, and being struck by heavy equipment. Mm. Oof.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that.
No, and the actual number of deaths is likely higher because it doesn't include unrecorded or indirected fatalities. For example, 42 workers died later from heat strokes or carbon monoxide poisoning. This doesn't include wives and children who died of heat strokes as well. Over 100 additional workers died off the job from cases such as pneumonia, meningitis, and typhoid fever. The dam was built in sections, and each segment of concrete took hours to pour. Engineers would not have allowed anything to compromise the integrity of the concrete, including a body. The forms used to construct the dam were large enough that the concrete would only come up to about a worker's ankles, so no bodies in the
Concrete part of the
in,
dam.
okay, that's what I thought. So no bodies
But
in the part of the dam.
so no bodies in the concrete part of the dam. However, I didn't include it because I couldn't verify the source, but in I think it was 2008 or 2009, somewhere in there, they found bones around the dam that, could have been one of these workers, you know.
Right.
So not in the concrete, but definitely around the dam for sure.
Oof.
I couldn't imagine, wife and children
I
dying on the side.
mm-mm.
I couldn't really find a whole lot of sources to get a number for that, but I mean, if they're there, I mean, you got to think this is in the 30s, so things were a lot different back then, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, and typhoid fever and pneumonia, that's like you don't even really hear of typhoid fever anymore. And pneumonia is easily treatable.
So we're basically looking at what 238 deaths total now. That's, officially 96, but with
Right,
other deaths that were indirectly related to the Hoover building of the Hoover Dam.
right.
So back to Allis-Chalmers. How did they play a part in this? So the Hoover Dam uses the Francis type vertical hydraulic turbine built by Allis-Chalmers. And I'm just going to give some numbers here. So there's 17 of these turbines. Each weighs about 700 tons. I couldn't even imagine that.
That's insane.
The generator shaft rotation is around about 180 RPMs. That is insane too.
Hmm.
Total power capacity is 2,080 megawatts.
Oof.
The Hoover Dam's turbines are located on the Nevada side of the dam. Water from Lake Mead falls 500 feet through the pipes to the turbines, which spin and rotate a series of electric generators. And so, to put this in perspective, 2,080 megawatts could power a city with roughly 750,000 people. So this dam could power a city with 750,000 people. The full generating capacity of the Hoover Dam, which supplies electricity to parts of Nevada, Arizona, and California. So this is huge here, right?
That's wow. That's insane. That would have been life changing at the time.
Yes, absolutely.
So, mining and cement. Allis-Chalmers continued to dominate in crushing and milling technology, becoming a trusted supplier for mining and cement industries worldwide. In World War II and post-war expansion, so it's between the 1940s and the 1950s, the Second World War marked a turning point for Allis-Chalmers as it pivoted to wartime production. The company manufactured tanks, artillery components, and engines for military use. This period of intense production not only bolstered the U.S. war effort, but also demonstrated the company's adaptability and engineering capacity.
Remember our episode on John Deere? John Deere played a pivotal part in the war as well. So
Mhm.
both companies were there and it got its foothold.
Right.
Following the war, Allis-Chalmers capitalized on the economic boom, expanding its product lines and global reach. In the 1950s, the company acquired British manufacturer Bolton and Paul
Hmm.
Buell.
Yeah, I
Okay,
guess I would say Bolton.
yeah, because it's a British thing. So, all right, so Bolton and Paul, enhancing its presence in Europe and introducing its machinery to a new international market. So its global reach is kind of expanding. It's getting more diversified in 1950 and 1970. By the mid 20th century, Allis-Chalmers was a multinational powerhouse operating across industries that included agriculture, construction, mining, and energy.
Mm,
I can't imagine one company during this time period with
right,
so many branches being able to
right. So many
up.
facets operating at one time.
Yeah, I mean that is huge.
That is wild. So, agriculture. The introduction of the D series tractors in the 1950s solidified Allis-Chalmers' reputation as a leader in farming technology. These tractors were known for their reliability and versatility, becoming favorites among farmers worldwide. And the energy, the company became a major player in nuclear power, designing reactors and supplying turbines for early nuclear plants. That's wild.
That is crazy, and you know
Hmm.
that is insane.
Right.
Construction. Allis-Chalmers entered the heavy construction equipment market, producing bulldozers, loaders, and other earth moving machinery. However, the company's
And big, ambitious.
ambitious diversification created challenges in maintaining profitability and focus, setting the stage for future difficulties.
Challenges and decline. All good things must come to an end, I suppose. The 1970s and 1980s were turbulent decades for Allis-Chalmers. Global economic shifts, rising competition, and internal inefficiencies took a toll on the company. Economic pressures. The 1970s oil crisis and subsequent economic downturn impacted demand for heavy machinery. Rising manufacturing costs and inflation further strained profitability.
Competition rivals like Caterpillar, John Deere, and International Harvester outpaced Allis-Chalmers in key markets, particularly in agriculture and construction. And then Allis-Chalmers had management challenges. Attempts to restructure and refocus the company's operations were hindered by its vast and unwieldy portfolio. Again, a lot of different branches, hard to keep up with.
Right.
By the mid 1980s, financial difficulties forced Allis-Chalmers to sell off major divisions. The agricultural equipment business was sold to um, Dutz AG of Germany in 1985, rebranded as Dutz Allis. Uh, and
The
its
legacy
legacy,
and
sorry,
impact. You're good. Legacy and impact. Though Allis-Chalmers ceased operations as an independent entity, its legacy endures. The company's contributions to agriculture, power generation, and industrial engineering shaped the modern industrial landscape. Many of its innovations, such as pneumatic tires for tractors and advancements in crushing technology, remain foundational to their respective industries. Today, enthusiasts and historians keep the Allis-Chalmers name alive through restorations of vintage machinery, ensuring that its impact on industrial history is not forgotten.
So to summarize here, Allis-Chalmers' journey from a small iron foundry to a global industry titan reflects the broader arc of American industry in the 20th century. Its rise was fueled by innovation and ambition, while its decline was shaped by economic forces and fierce competition. Despite its challenges, the company's achievements in agriculture, power, and heavy machinery continue to resonate, making Allis-Chalmers a symbol of industrial progress and integrity. With that, concludes Allis-Chalmers. That's pretty much all I've got, Kat. You have anything you want to add?
No, it's pretty crazy that he had all those facets, his hands in all those jars for as long as he did, though.
And I remember your reaction when I suggested we do this, and you're like, what, another tractor series?
Well, you know,
But it turned out to be a lot more than what you thought it was going to be, right?
it did. I was actually pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I mean, it was a global powerhouse. And like I said at the beginning of the show, parts of it's still around today. Dutz AG is still around. Some of its other parts were sold off and are now other companies. So, you know, as
We
a
wouldn't be where we are today without him.
absolutely. And if you're interested in this, and there is a whole group of people out there that are willing to talk about it. There's collectors out there. There's a lot of more material than what we covered here. We glossed over a lot of it.
Right.
Um,
So
so
if you have any deep dive questions and want us to go in depth, we'll certainly do that for you. Just let us know.
absolutely. So like and follow us wherever you get your podcast,
Leave us a review and send us a text using the link in the show's notes.
and I'll let Kat read it.
I'll do my best and let us know what you would like us to cover next.
We want to thank everyone for listening to Info on the Go. Tell a friend. Until next time.
Stay curious.